Jiro here for Umber Games, bringing a review of a slightly older game today, Justice League Heroes on Xbox. The game was also released on PS2, with a lesser version on Sony PSP, and one that's significantly different on Nintendo DS. When I play multiplayer games, I really enjoy doing it cooperatively, as opposed to versus. Heroes was made by Snowblind Studios, the same development company that brought us the fantastic Dungeons & Dragons-based Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance series on console, which still stands as one of the best co-op experiences to date, as well as the EverQuest-based Champions of Norath games on PlayStation 2. Using that same Dark Alliance game engine, Snowblind decided to tackle a comic property, and move themselves into the DC universe. Justice League Heroes features a 3/4 isometric view. It can be played by one player with a second hero controlled by AI, and also features drop in and out local co-op. Most stages present you with the pre-selected 2 characters that fit with the story, and 3 or so of the 11 chapters let you pick from the team of 7 or additional unlockable characters. If one of the characters dies, you revive them by reaching a checkpoint, and there's generally 1 or 2 of those per map. Heroes features Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, the John Stewart Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, and also Zatanna. Yes, Zatanna. To show my lack of Justice League knowledge, I didn't even know who she was. At first, I scoffed at her inclusion, and then ironically she ended up being my favorite character. As most comic-based games do, there are several villains the Justice League must face as they discover an overarching plot with a master villain behind it. I'm not going to spoil that here. Combat consists of a quick and strong melee attack using A and B respectively, and a few different combos that are the same pattern with each hero, AAB or ABA. You can also grab environmental objects with the X button, things like pipes for those without superhuman strength, and additionally vehicles for those with it. Most characters can fly with a double tap of the Y button. Flight is at a fixed height at the same speed they'd be walking, so there's really not too much of an advantage over those that have a glide or double jump, other than just being able to be lazy in areas with rocky terrain. You can use a left trigger to bring up your ability selection that map to the face buttons and the right trigger. The right trigger alone will block, but as with Baldur's Gate, there's rarely a necessity for it. There are a couple of neat options that make Justice League stand out from other dungeon crawlers. First, you can choose how to split the experience gains between players, evenly, say 50-50, or 60-40, or even up to 100% of the person who gathers the green experience orbs for each kill, so you can punish any slacker that may be accompanying you. Secondly, each hero has 4 to 5 signature moves that can be increased in power by applying points gained from leveling up, which is pretty standard. But as you add points to a skill, you can also collect various colored orbs that can be plugged into that point. Orbs are based in damage, range, efficiency, luck, or speed, and have a level from 1 to 7, and can be combined to increase their rank. These orbs provide additional customized boosts to that skill. Of course, the trade-off with this is that it was probably done in lieu of equipment, as there is none. In addition to gathering orbs, there are also Justice League shields that can be earned or found and used as currency to buy new characters and outfits from their various comic book appearances that alter their stats further. These always come with a plus to something and a minus to something else. The unlockable heroes that can be purchased are Aquaman, Green Arrow, and Hawkgirl that all have unique abilities, and then Huntress that has the same powers as Batman except for 1, leaving her with only 4 powers, and then 2 other versions of Green Lantern, Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner, that both have the same constructs as John for their powers, which was a pretty big disappointment, especially because of how much Hal cost. The game does feature a New Game Plus mode called Continue Play, which allows you to restart the story from the beginning once you've completed it, with all of your purchased goods and character levels, which is for the completionists out there that want to get everything unlocked. The one pain Justice League gives, that other dungeon crawlers don't, is the aforementioned pre-selected characters on each map. At the beginning of the game, the alteration orbs don't drop often, so you tend to conserve them, not knowing how long you'll actually be staying with that character. Also, there's one level with Green Lantern and Flash early on, and then the next time you have a chance to use Green Lantern is a much later stage, and he felt very low-leveled for that challenge. By the time you can afford new characters, it's done in later levels too, and you end up having to spend a lot of time running and hiding from enemies to get health and focus back. Dungeon crawlers and RPGs in general are usually about taking your character from weakness to a force to be reckoned with. And while you do see this happen, the gratification is split across characters and often fleeting. Some dialogue is really campy in true comic book style, but for the most part, the voice acting is pretty solid.
Aw, shucks.
The only voice I really recognize is Ron Perlman as Batman, and while he wouldn't be my first choice for The Dark Knight, he does a great job, and I eventually got used to it.
He's not thinking. Darkseid embarrassed him. He's going to try to fight him alone.
While I am a huge Batman fan, I do have to admit, Justice League is very hit and miss with me, as exposure has mainly been through games and cartoons and movies. Most of my problem extends from the fact that Superman and Wonder Woman are all but invulnerable, so it always takes some sort of ridiculous plot to present a challenge for them. In this game, the two of them can be destroyed just like the others, through punches and lasers, so while not consistent with their comic book counterparts, it kept the game well grounded. But Heroes doesn't lack a ridiculous plot, as the final battle comes down to taking away something called the Mother Box. I don't know if this exists in the DC universe or not. I didn't really take the time to research it.
So, do it.
But surely someone could have come up with a better name than this. It actually surprises me now in 2015, when I go back and play games on the Xbox, PS2, GameCube generation, how bad the graphics really aren't. I mean, granted they don't have 1080p 60 frames per second, but I guess my head processes the generation gap bigger than it actually was. This happened both with Justice League Heroes and my recent replay of Silent Hill 2. While the water does look a little fuzzy and the FMV cutscenes feature some pretty stiffly motioned faces, gameplay itself still looks pretty decent in this 2006 title. So thank you to the now closed Snowblind Studios for giving us a solid comic book action RPG title back in the day that I just now got around to playing. Rated as an action RPG dungeon crawler, Justice League Heroes gets a 66 out of 100 on my rating scale, once again keeping in mind 50 is for an average game. This is Jiro for Umber Games. Thanks for watching.